Hey guys, today we talk about leadership, and my guest today started out as hardcore engineer, but after 20 or so years moved away from the technical side and moved to the people side. By becoming a chapter lead, he manages to enable and energize other people, something he missed in his own career. My guest today, Robby Coelho.
Beyond Coding. Welcome to Beyond Coding, a dive into the world of successful people in IT. From your sponsors, Zebia, creating digital leaders. Here's your host, Patrick Akil.
Hey Robby, how's it going, man?
Hey, doing well, Patrick. Thank you.
Yeah, happy to have you here, man.
Well, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you already said you like the studio we're in, the vibe.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
that's awesome. That's for the people to check out on YouTube then.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, very inviting. I think the technology is very nice. Definitely enjoying the setting. Yeah.
Cool, man. Yeah, so we brought you on to mainly talk about leadership and how to be a good leader. But before that, I want to delve a bit into the past and talk about how you got to the position you're in now. Right, you started out as software engineer,
right?
Then moved on to consultancy, and even moved on to being a freelancer.
Right.
How was that like for you?
Well, the thing is, way back when I started was in '97.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure really what I wanted to do as such. I wasn't really the programmer that's been programming from early on.
Yeah.
Kind of learned my way into it. But at the time, it was prior to the year 2000. There was, I mean, anybody who could turn on a PC could drive away with a car, and it was quite exciting times. And so I was really figuring out which direction I wanted to go. Yeah. So I got into Power Builder, which is a 4GL language, very much like .NET, Java-like syntax. And I kind of explored that for a couple of years, mostly client server. Yeah. So that's when I decided, this technology thing, I like it. It's I enjoyed programming. I enjoyed it. Let me say in the context of time, because at the time we didn't have internet. It was really just struggling to get your algorithm to work with these huge bugs. It was really exciting times. So somewhere around 2006 it was, where I was approached by Ordina to do a kind of a transformation from Power Builder to .NET, which surprisingly wasn't that much of a difference, to tell you the truth. Power Builder was also using a framework very much like the .NET framework. So it was a nice transition. Yeah. That's why my role changed to consultant. Okay. The thing is, I never stopped programming, but they called it consultant ICT. Exactly. The actual term. So I continued programming. And I think I enjoyed my days with .NET. I mean, those were exciting days. Yeah. It seemed like every other year, or sometimes within the year, something would change. We would go from ASP.NET to MVC, etc. But that's around the time where something else started chewing at me. Kind of, let me just say it bluntly. I just did not fit well with leaders. Okay. In what way then? Did you always clash or? Yeah. Always clash? Yeah. I was the zeros and ones guy. Okay. Didn't care much for anything in between or beyond. Yeah. So my thing was, leave me alone. Let me program. Let me do my thing. You don't ask Rembrandt how long it took to do Nachtwacht. You just let him paint. Exactly. So something didn't feel right. And I kind of took it as a business IT difference. Yeah. So kind of took it out upon business people. But I started noticing that's not the way to go, because on the other side, they're just people, just like me. Yeah. So that's when I started thinking of, I don't know what it was that bugged me. So it took a couple more years. I kind of decided to go freelancing for all the wrong reasons. Okay. I kind of thought, I know it better. Kind of done with all these corporates and think they know what it is to service a client, to write good code. And of course, I thought I could earn more money. Yeah. That last one was probably the only thing that was true of my preconceptions of going into the freelance world, because once I was in the freelance world, which I did about for almost 10 years, I kind of noticed that it wasn't really any different. Okay. I mean, I was still at the same, I was lucky enough to stay with the big names. Yeah. So I didn't really need a large consultancy firm to be at a big name. I kind of could do it on my own as well. But I mean, nothing really changed. The same feeling kept chewing at me.
So still the same day-to-day kind of things you were doing?
Day-to-day things.
Yeah.
Maybe I earned a bit more money.
Sure.
Problem is you got to take care of your own stuff, pensions and insurance, etc.
Yeah.
And it was hardcore business. I mean, you're talking about people who are making money by the hour. Yeah. That means 60 hours, 70 hours weeks are normal. If you don't do it, there's 10 other guys who are very happy to take on your position.
Exactly.
So that was interesting, but it wasn't much about entrepreneurship, which is really what I was interested in.
Yeah.
So that's when I started rethinking my direction. And that's when leadership came about. I mean, it was around the time I was really into Simon Sinek and trying to understand the why and the how and that, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's when I started connecting the dots. I was like, okay, maybe it's a lack of leadership that I was experiencing. And, well, maybe that's something I need to look into.
Yeah.
And so it got more serious, and I decided to make it really serious by joining an MBA program part-time, which I did for 2 years.
Yeah.
Quite a challenge, I must say, with kids at home. And but it was really an eye-opener. I mean, that was really anything I knew, which were the zeros and the ones, I could throw away.
Okay.
It was all in between and all beyond that.
Yeah.
And that was really cool. So I approached the MBA pretty much with the question, what's in it for me as an engineer?
Yeah.
Doing accounting. What's in it for me as an engineer? Strategy management, HR. So that was my whole approach.
Okay.
And that was really cool, because that's when I knew I had something. But it was scary as well, because that meant I would have to stop developing.
Exactly.
And I tell you, man, that was the scariest day of my life. The last day, my last check-in, I remember that well. That was somewhere in 2017. I think, what the heck am I going to do all day?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not programming. What do these guys do?
You're going to have a lot of time. Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah, you thought.
So you hear all these things that your new language will be Microsoft Office and stuff like that. So some of it is true, I must say, but I mean, it's been a wild ride ever since.
Yeah.
And I feel today very lucky to kind of have rolled into this, because to tell you the truth, I didn't know I was going to be a leader way back when I started.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even sure a career in development was the way to go for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, to say you must have a plan and a vision and where you want to go, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I reacted to the changes when they came along, and I had the courage of taking them.
Yeah.
And that's I think, looking back, where the major success factor.
Yeah. I mean, when you're staring at opportunity, right? Some people take that step.
Yeah.
And some people don't. And then those people stand still in time maybe and keep doing what they're doing.
Exactly.
But I love that you said at first things were kind of black and white, right? It was either right or wrong. Right. There was no in between. And you actually clashed with leadership because of that as well, right? Yeah. Don't give me an it depends.
No, I did.
And
let
me go.
I can tell you why well, that's my theory. When you're focused on the zeros and ones, it's kind of like skiing down the slopes and focusing on the trees. Okay.
Interesting.
And what do I mean by that? It's very simple. And put it the other way, if you're a skier going down the slopes and you're focusing on the trees, what's going to happen?
Yeah, you're going to fall.
You're going to clash into that tree.
Exactly.
Don't hit the tree. Don't hit the tree. Going to hit it.
Yeah.
The key is, and professional skiers, they focus on the space in between. What I figured out, and this is just recently, that it's my job to help the business define the space in between the zeros and the ones, with the zeros and the ones.
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing is, if you clash with them right away and you keep focusing on good code, clean code, Uncle Bob, I mean, that's all very good, but it's not a language of a business person, and you're focusing on those three things, from in this case, the two things that you disagree or are not able to come to an agreement. Is maybe a better way of phrasing this.
Yeah.
You're not talking about the 98 other things which you do agree with.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in a business. Business needs to make money. We need to have a purpose. We need to be happy with what we do, which is beyond coding, of course. I mean, if we're just the code. I mean, remember way back when I started, if I had joined the pornography industry, just to give you an example, I could have been a millionaire by now.
Yeah.
And the guys who were able to do that were able to think, well, it's just programming. It doesn't really matter. In what functional domain? Well, it does matter, because at the end of the day, we're all people.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's why thinking back, the zeros and the ones, yeah, it's good to focus on them, but it's also good to help the business kind of define the space between.
Yeah. I like that you laid it out like that, right? Because you're still people, right? We all work in the same business. Yeah. We should have the same goal, but still we clash in sometimes cooperating and moving towards that.
Yeah.
But we still have all the best intentions, right?
Exactly.
I think this is the best course of direction.
Exactly.
And someone else might think, well, it's actually a right instead of a left.
Yeah.
But the goal should be the same. Then why can't we cooperate and get to that goal?
Exactly. And I think it's a dependency.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to cooperate there, because to look at it from the other direction, if you are looking at it without trees, well, they probably don't have much of a direction. You could just go on just about any route off of that mountain. And
exactly.
Back on them. I mean, you need the thing is it's supporting each other. It's a cooperation.
Yeah.
But again, and that's not surprising that I'm going to mention this, but are you going to be able to figure this out as an engineer on your own without any guidance on this? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because you're focused on your coding, which is a natural thing. It's a good thing. You should be focused on that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you lose yourself. I mean, we often say, yeah, pair programming, that's not for me. I'm not good at working with people. Those are all kind of very often you hear these kind of comments. But the thing is, we are, as human beings, I mean, we wouldn't have survived this long on this earth if we didn't cooperate. I mean, that's probably our strongest asset.
Yeah, I agree.
We don't have elephant skin.
Yeah.
We don't have crocodile teeth. The main reason we got so far is that we are really good at cooperating.
Yeah.
And this is the insight, and Simon Sinek talks about this a lot. It's creating an environment, a safe environment where we can cooperate, where we can grow.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is my responsibility as a leader.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's how I look at it. So I often say a lack of leadership is what I experienced. And in essence, that's true. I had good management.
Yeah.
But that's not the same thing. I mean, good leadership is really recognizing all of this, is understanding. It's going for a just cause. It's more than just managing.
Exactly. Yeah.
I guess the nicest thing I've heard, or the nicest parallel I've heard, was on the Titanic. Good management is arranging the chairs on the deck of the Titanic.
Okay.
Well, it's sinking, so
yeah,
you're still arranging these.
Exactly.
So that's what I mean. It's all related to each other. And one other aspect that I've noticed is the levels of management. The thing is, if you don't have a good leader and you're a manager, you are both following the plan of somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. Without knowing.
And it's very, I mean, depending on how many layers there are between you and this plan, it's gonna kind of water down to the notion of an idea. And the thing is, if you don't have goals from a product or a company, then your team goals become more important. If you don't have a team, which is a group of people, then your personal goals become important. It's just a matter of, I mean, you need goals, and if you don't have those upper goals, if you may, you're gonna pursue your own goals, and that's when we end up behind the PC, staring at our own piece of code and thinking the world sucks and nobody understands me.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, was it then, if you look back on your past, was it that shared goal that either wasn't there or wasn't communicated properly.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense, because then, well, probably if your team setting is also not there,
Exactly.
you get back to that individual goal and you're like, well, I'm going to get the best as I can
Exactly.
at the craft that I'm doing.
Exactly.
Right? You're not going to look at the tools around you or why you're doing this.
Right.
You're just going to look at the thing you're doing and getting better at that.
That's a good point. And this is at an intersection where I could have gone both ways. I could have said, you know what, I'm going to make sure that I'm the expert on the technical side of things, which is an excellent option.
Yeah.
But I felt I had it in me to do the other thing, to go to the soft side, if you may.
Yeah.
And I think both are necessary. So for me, it turned out to be the soft side, and going into this leadership position, and it's very exciting. Very exciting.
Cool. Before we go into what you do now, I want to zoom in on that lack of goal or the lack of leadership that you experienced before.
Right.
Because as you experience it yourself now, or you probably have changed a lot of things now, why do you think that is, that it sometimes occurs that there's just not good management or good leadership qualities in people or in companies or in teams like that?
Good question. Let me take Scrum as an example.
Yeah.
Let's take two scenarios. The one scenario is the manager hears about this thing called Scrum or Agile development with Scrum and thinks, yeah, everybody's doing that, so that's what we should be doing. Hey, teams, from now on, you have a Scrum Master and a product owner. By the way, John, account manager, kind of really busy. I understand that, but we need to have somebody be this product owner. So if you may, then there's a team manager or something. Yeah, you could be a Scrum Master. So if you go about it this way, you're going to run into some problems. We're not kind of keen on Scrum right away, or at least most of us. Well, let me focus on myself. I wasn't very keen on the idea because I didn't really see the merit or the difference, because I thought I was already working quite agile. Yeah. This is where a lack of leadership comes in. If you're just ordered to do Scrum, you're just gonna do Scrum.
Exactly.
And I think it was Barry Overeem of the Liberators talking about zombie Scrumming. Yeah. Which is kind of going through the motion without the values.
Okay.
So, respect, courage, commitment, etc.
Yeah.
When I talk about a lack of leadership, I mean, that's when somebody would need to recognize that really nothing has changed and the team needs help. Yeah. And also these complaints that you get from the developers, the many meetings. Well, they're not meetings, they're team events, but are you going to expect them to take time off their busy days to kind of learn Scrum because we must? And I got about 40 engineers that I am blessed to coach and to guide and to facilitate. Yeah, I could give them one solution and have all 40 of them break it down in pieces. Yeah, or I can present the problem and have 41 of us come with the solution. Exactly. So this is what I mean with a lack of leadership, and honestly, that I think is the reason why many teams are struggling with Scrum. Yeah. One of the things that I can tell you, for example, is that what I do, I'm a certified DISC trainer. That's looking at personalities and trying to kind of lay out a team in. No, it's not personalities. It's communication styles. Mm-hmm. Basically, if you would have a red communication style, I would have a preferred green communication style. Yeah. Here's also a lack of leadership. When you just do this, you're going to run into all kinds of problems. I mean, people telling you how you're going to color me, you're going to put me in a corner, and you're going to, well, no. The explanation of the reason why we're doing this is that we're talking about just the communication style. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah. It's just learning to communicate with each other so we can get to the bottom. This kind of stuff, this enthusiasm, which I'm selling you this is what I missed in my days. So if you were to match the right people, or at least make sure that you have a well-balanced color palette when it comes to communication styles, or at least even if you have a bunch of people who are completely opposite to each other, you can teach them how to deal with that, because that's what the whole purpose is. Yeah. To understand when a person speaks red or a person is green, kind of have these tips on how to talk to a red communication style when your preferred communication style is green.
Yeah.
Now this is exactly what I mean is facilitating. It's coaching, facilitating, mentoring, and teaching. This is the new, to me, what leadership is about.
Yeah. That makes sense. Instead of actually saying, well, this is our solution or my solution or solution of management.
Yeah. So if to follow Cynic, it's going into the how instead of telling people, getting people kind of excited about the why.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense, right? The values behind what you're doing.
Exactly.
That big why question, why we're doing this, what are we achieving?
Right.
And how we can do it, we can figure out either by ourselves or by trying things out and experimenting and getting to that right fit.
Yeah.
Right. Because just because someone invented Scrum doesn't mean it's a fit for everyone.
No, not
exactly.
There's
always options.
And the other way that I think is very important in development, see, we're not very, I guess as people, we can accept leadership, but we can accept leadership based on merit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem we probably have with all these vloggers and social media. The thing is, I've did 21 years of software development, heavy duty software development, large clients, big problem. Now I'm a person who chose to kind of add to my skills, there's leadership competencies and skills but the thing is, at my heart is still an engineer. And that's when I find the connection with, so in hindsight, it could have been both ways. It could have been that I didn't accept leadership because I didn't have a click.
Yeah.
That could also very much be the case. But,
yeah.
I mean, in the everyday life, if I talk about my regular day, it helps a ton. Not knowing how to program, but having been through it.
Yeah, the experience.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's probably helped you communicate better your points and why we're doing this.
Yeah.
And how you think it would help someone that has been or is in the same position.
For sure.
That you've been.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I always tell from my side of I'm not saying I'm representing any engineers. I say when I was an engineer, this is what I lacked, or this is but that's what I started doing. And recently I decided to skip that whole step by just doing things, and people connect the dots right away.
Yeah.
So when I talk about the lack of leadership, I think it goes both ways. It's the person who took on the leadership position at the time, but it also myself in the difficulties I had accepting their leadership.
Yeah, exactly. If you can't understand why we're doing this, then it's going to cause friction.
Yeah.
I get that. I hear more and more that like leadership right nowadays is more about giving options. Yeah. Whereas before it was always, no. Leadership is responsible for defining the option.
Right. And
then passing it along through to the people and making sure that option is basically followed through.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely, and there were some studies called the Whitehall studies, which kind of talked about the fact that stress didn't really come from the amount of effort you have in a day, but the lack of control.
Yeah.
And what I mean, we used to have leaders who communicated to us from some sort of a ivory tower, secret chambers where they had access to information we didn't have access to.
Yeah.
And they kind of sold us this information either by translating whatever conversations they had with boards, with upper level management, etc.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we didn't feel in control, and we weren't informed.
Yeah.
I mean, we were informed as far as what we got.
But we didn't information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it turned out that creates more stress than the actual effort that we put into our work.
Yeah.
So transparency, which is why agile leadership is really feels very naturally, because I'm a very open, well, you kind of don't know me yet, but I'm a very open, transparent person. And so it comes to me naturally. But when I told you before that, I would rather have 41 of us think about a solution. Transparency is key.
Yeah.
That's like making sure we all got the information needed.
Yeah.
Of course, there's some information. I mean, this is culturally different. I mean, stuff like salary in Netherlands is very secret. In the States, it's kind of your way to show that you're doing well. So there's things, of course, that you don't share, or maybe private. But you're talking about a very small amount of information. Most of the information actually helps you out a lot.
Yeah.
Now, the discussion I've had with most engineers is, why should I have that information? Because I'm just writing code.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, if just writing code makes you happy, I'd like to challenge you to kind of get to that point where you're writing code for to you a just cause. I mean, that high is really, really cool.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, just you can pleasure yourself by writing code, but if you can please other people by actually facilitating, which should be your role, right? IT should always facilitate the business,
right,
and work together towards that goal.
Right.
That's when you actually create magic.
That's when you create magic, and as you can imagine or expect, leadership plays a very, very important role into this, because I don't like to use him often as an example, but the one thing I really, really liked about Steve Jobs was the fact that Steve was able to excite you, to take you onto this journey to a place where you want it to be, because it's cool and it's exciting.
Yeah.
And really I think most of the times at the last 5 minutes of the presentation, you would say, but wait, and this is the iPhone, and you can get it tomorrow in the stores. But he really took you onto this journey. Yeah.
Yeah, it would electrify you.
Yeah.
And then he would basically come with the solution that they created.
Right.
Yeah, I like that.
And the thing I liked about him as well is he was very clear as to his involvement in the technical part of business. I mean, that had one name. That's Steve Wozniak. I mean, he did not, all he did was, I'm going to tell you, Steve, I need a mouse with one button.
Yeah.
So he was, that's technically impossible. Why would you want that? He said, because I envision a world where you don't need to click on two buttons if you only need, if there's only one. And he would go about that side. Steve would most likely have thought, well, this guy's crazy, but let me just write whatever code fits his vision best.
Yeah.
See, this is the kind of the dynamics that I'm talking about, where as a leader, it's my job to also make sure that if we are scrumming, that the product owner is dedicated as well, that the scrum master is on board. I mean, it's more than just software development.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the first to be blamed is software development, because we actually write the code.
Yeah, that's the point of entry.
That's the point of entry.
Exactly.
So we should be, I guess, our no, which is very difficult.
Yeah.
To me, admitting I couldn't do something as an engineer was frowned upon. I mean,
really?
I thought, that everything is possible, so I'm going to just write it. And there is some merit to that. But again, leadership is to kind of guide this.
Yeah.
To make sure that you don't lose yourself into, you could lose yourself into writing the best code ever.
Sure.
You're not going to win anything with the best code ever. I mean, that's like, a couple of doors. You have Nike. You probably brag about the best chemical components into their new shoestring. I mean, but people are still looking at a full shoe, possibly one worn by LeBron James. Everything around it instead of the details that you're working on. Right. So I'm really, my mission in life is to make sure that we still build the best shoestring there is. Yeah. But that we feel part of a larger cause. Yeah. And that I didn't have. And again, let me be clear. I mean, I now sound like I had my career written out and knew exactly what I was going to do. And this is this is really, my life has been pretty agile. Yeah. I think I was able to respond to change. But that's just not on me. I mean, I'm really blessed to be able to count on my wife and my daughters as really my guides in life. Yeah. So a good situation at home, happiness as a person, all of this is part of the package. Yeah. It's your foundation. It's the foundation. Yeah. And on top of that, you can build and be the best version of you
at work or at whatever you're doing.
Exactly.
But that foundation needs to be there.
Right.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and my job as a leader, I mean, one of my, to me, very important job is to make sure that my people go home at the end of the day feeling at least inspired or at least energized of what they've done throughout the day. And definitely to prevent them from going home feeling stressed if I could.
Yeah, feeling drained or moving towards that burnout.
Yeah, because you could say, well, what happens at home is not my responsibility. But I mean, people take stuff home.
Yeah,
stuff happens at home. And I still feel, I don't feel responsible for somebody taking action. But I do feel at least responsible for having created an environment where the possibility exists to do something exciting.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you laid out a lot of like leadership qualities, like allowing an environment to have options and to make their own decisions.
For sure.
Right, foreseeing and guiding rather than commanding and opposing your solutions.
Yeah.
What are those, do you think, and also obviously the communication, but what are those do you think are inherent in you or things that you can learn along the way and you can hone like a craft?
Right. That's a good question. What I've learned in the MBA is that leaderships are skills just as any other.
Yeah.
And there is some truth into that, but you cannot be as open as I am if you're not open as a person. So I think there's different levels of leadership or kinds of leadership, if you may.
Yeah.
So no, I do think that your own talents and your own abilities are very important to take along as you're exploring all the leadership styles there are. So I think, your own person is a very important piece of the puzzle. However, I do think leadership, anybody can learn leadership skills. Okay. And you can apply them to some sorts in all positions. Yeah. So I've been into companies where the lunch lady was the actual leader of the company. She knew exactly what was going on everybody's life and was very informed, even more so than most managers were of their own employees. So it's not something that necessarily needs to be at the top. Yeah. Actually, as far as I'm concerned, I'm telling my people all the time, I'm considering them partners on an equal level. I don't, and if there's any hierarchy at all, that will be me at the bottom trying to facilitate the teams.
Exactly, lifting them up instead of commanding from up top.
I mean, who am I to tell them in the day life? I'm not in the teams. I'm not into the context of things. Yeah. So if I was to be involved in, for example, clashes within two team members, I'm bound to get it wrong. Yeah. Possibly going to go to speak to one person and say, oh, John did, John said that. Yeah. Then going to John, and he, of course, would tell me a completely different story.
Yeah, you're going to get that he said, she said.
Exactly. Yeah. So again, that's the leadership, is recognizing that if you want to work in this type of environment, in an agile environment, the empowering the team, kind of pushing the self-organizing capacity of the team is really the way to go. Yeah. And of course, at the end of the day, you might have some HR responsibility, but in all truth, I don't think I have a HR responsibility. I think you do. Yeah. Because it's your personal development.
Exactly.
Kind of weird that I'm telling you to have 2 conversations a year on your personal development and give you this template, 360 feedback, etc., on your personal development. Yeah. Knowing anything about your personal, I mean, I'm not.
You're not in the team, not in the day-to-day.
I know. I got this role as chapter at the moment. That does not make me any better than you.
Yeah, that makes sense. I always, the self-evaluations are interesting to me, right? I'm an engineer and I'm in a team. Right. So I get my feedback from the people around me and that are involved on a day-to-day. Right? And that's what I discuss with the manager who trusts me, that I've gotten that feedback and I'm speaking truthfully, right? We have that trust between us.
That's it.
But I've also seen other people in which they say, well, my manager asked me to fill out kind of a half-year review, and it needs to be a 360, and it needs to be in this template. Right. And we're going to talk about my career progression. And then I asked them, do you work with your manager on a day-to-day like that? And they're like, no, but they are my manager. Therefore, they should give me feedback based on what I'm doing. Yeah. I'm like, but that's contradictory, and sometimes they don't see that.
It is. It is. And being a manager or a leader doesn't make you the best. I mean, I didn't become a leader because I was the best programmer.
Yeah.
I mean, it came to me, and when I really decided to go for leadership, that's when I recognized that I could be the one to make you the best programmer you can be.
Yeah, I like that.
And that's the thing for me. I mean, that's why, and so I'm still looked upon at some more of the older developers that I'm working with. They still look at me as this kind of line manager that, you know, they need to say, sir to me and make sure that I'm pleased and you're happy with this 360 feedback. So,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I can't help you on that. And again, this pleasing, like, you know, you asked for a 360 feedback.
Yeah.
And the common thing is, they ask 2 of their friends to fill in the 360 feedback. And of course, that's not a 360 feedback at all. But the thing is, and here's where leadership, and also another important factor of leadership, we often get angry at this kind of thing, you know, ask you to fill in a 360 and you asked 3 of your friends to fill them in. Like, how stupid can you be? I mean, do I need to lay out everything to you?
Yeah.
Well, you do. You need to understand that somebody took the effort of filling in a 360 degree that you asked them to.
Yeah.
Were you specific enough? Did you talk to this person? Does this fit you as a person? Or we need to talk about another form of self-evaluation. If you didn't do all of that, you just have complaints or you're criticizing somebody for doing something or thinking he's an idiot. You're talking from some sort of a higher position or higher perception of yourself as a human being, but you're not.
Exactly. We're still all humans.
I still put my pants one side at a time. I'm not able to do anything. I mean, of course, with the years, you gain some experience and some knowledge and some insights. And the thing is to create an environment where this other person recognizes where your difference is, or at least the added value that you can deliver, finds his or her own added value. Yeah. And we get this thing called synergy.
Yeah, exactly. I love that you said, well, the fault does not always lie in the interpretation, right? It's communication and interpretation.
Right.
And your experience can hone that and make that better.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you didn't communicate it properly.
No, I did not become the leader because I'm the best programmer.
Exactly.
That would imply that this is a finite game where we have some set of rules and
exactly.
do so much. No, that's not the way it goes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of leaders that have become the leaders because they think they're the best programmers.
Yeah.
And this is also a very natural thing to happen, but it could be very difficult for these leaders to... The thing is, if you think you're the best at doing something and you became a leader, the thing you're going to do all day is look at your people and say, no, that's not how... let me do it.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to avoid. So for me, the motivation of becoming a leader was not that I thought I could program better.
Yeah.
It's really that I believe I can help you become the best programmer you can be.
Yeah, you're an enabler and you're a multiplier in that team aspect, right?
Exactly.
And you don't need to be the best of one of those factors.
No.
But you need to be enabling.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly.
Right? And if you are the best and you get lifted up like that, then you get that kind of micromanaging thing that you've laid out.
Yeah.
Where you just get frustrated by the way people are doing things and you're going to end up doing it yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which happens a lot. I mean, I don't have to tell people about this. Most of us have had a boss of some sorts which did things in this. I mean, it's very natural. So let me not talk about people as far as I'm judging them or knowing better. I mean, this is just an observation. And my observations have led me to pick this servant leadership style and to be the leader that I am. So, I'm always careful to tell people, don't do things as I did. I mean, I'm hoping from this story, you see a different way of going about your career. Yeah. But I'm definitely not pretending knowing the secret to be unhappy. That's different for everybody else. So this is my thoughts, my interpretations, and I love to be in conversation with people like we are right now to see how far I can go in conveying some message. Yeah. At least the essential of the message.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? Everything that we say or every input that we have is just that. It's input, right? Again, communication and interpretation.
Yeah.
There's no silver bullet. So anyone that tries to sell you that is just wrong for doing that.
Yeah.
But it can form your mind and give you a perspective
Sure.
And that's what actually helps you along the way, right? That's what experience is built upon.
That's exactly the truth.
Yeah.
And I think, that's Stephen Covey who said, when two people agree, one is unnecessary. And I believe that. I believe that's the thing is, you need to, that's the one rule that I maintain. At the end of the day, there's only going to be two solutions. Either we have a win-win situation from a discussion, or we have no deal.
Yeah.
This is also Stephen Covey, which I believe to be very insightful in this kind of situation. And what do I mean with that? Win-win is I come up with some way that you didn't think of. You convince me of maybe a different twist to this same thing, and we both win.
Yeah.
Or we agree to disagree. No deal. And that's fine. I mean, there's plenty of topics during the day. We don't need to agree on everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the thing is, we can try to get to that win-win situation. So this is very Stephen Covey, but I think it's very at least it helps me out a lot.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. So what I always wonder is, right, I think at some point I will take that sidestep and go more to the soft skills, right? Instead of going hardcore into programming.
Right.
As you mentioned, you can either take that right or that left.
Right.
And I think I narrow right now more towards the soft skill side.
Okay.
I always wonder when, but that's always interesting and it's always flexible.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't think there will be a point where it's like, okay, then.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Was it for you like that, or was it just opportunities there? I'm gonna go.
Yeah, that's the last. It's very simple. I mean, it's gonna knock on your door. The only question you need to be prepared to answer is, are you ready?
Yeah.
And you're not going to be.
That's good to know now.
So let me put this: the ready you need to feel is, am I ready to open this door and to step into this?
Yeah. Do you want to take that plunge then?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Now it's going to come to you. I don't think there is anything that happened in my life which I could tell you as far as having recognized. I've even been at places where I didn't really know what I was doing at the time.
Yeah.
I remember being at clients where customers where I was thinking, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I kind of worked with some people that many years later turned out to be people I needed for some other way. So I guess the only thing I can tell you that I've tried to do and it's succeeded in doing so is I've never left burning bridges behind.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah, I love that.
Always took the time to make sure that wherever I was, that I made sure that I felt grateful for having been there. Talked about stuff that, I mean, maybe from one or two occasions where that wasn't possible.
Yeah.
Still to this day. And this is an interesting aspect of it all. You know what's funny about this? When you see people after so many years, do you think they still remember what code we were writing at the point in time?
Absolutely not.
They're not, man.
No, absolutely not.
Hey, how you doing? Are you still into music? Man,
Yeah.
you were really the bomb at the time. I mean, most of the technology we were working with back then doesn't even exist anymore. So that's why I'm telling people, if you focus your whole day on the zeros and ones and writing good code, and you miss out on all this, the joy of doing this as a team.
Yeah.
I'm not saying as a group deliberately, as a team. So it takes time to have effort and investing into this. I mean, that's awesome. And I can tell you for a fact, I have yet to meet someone who remembers me from having written good code. I know what you think. You probably wrote crappy code all your life. No, that's not. I hope not.
then they might remember you.
But they possibly would have remembered me as an idiot.
It makes sense, right? Because how we're doing things is not necessarily what we remember. It's why we're doing it and what we're actually doing together, right? In that team sense that you mentioned. Not as a group, because that's different than a team.
Right.
A team has reached a certain level in which they can call themselves a team because they're aligned, they're synergized.
Yeah.
And they can have that shared understanding and that shared goal.
But can you imagine how many managers drop Scrum on groups of people?
Yeah.
And don't guide them?
Yeah.
All they look at is velocity and predictability, but they don't look at the journey a group of people need to make to go to become a team, to become a high-performing team, is the way they like to call the teams these days, who are really synergizing.
Yeah.
But people never look at that. Nobody takes a look at and starting with a group of people matched on communication. I think maybe you didn't even have the luxury of matching people, but at least having told them of the differences in communication styles, guide them on, it's okay, we have 2 reds and 2 greens communication styles. That's possibly going to cause some friction if you don't pay attention to how you communicate things.
Yeah.
Does that mean whatever it is you're communicating should be monitored? No, not at all. You're just simply talking about being able to talk to each other. And all of this are very, very important aspects of the complete picture.
Yeah, it's raising that awareness within the team or within an organization.
Exactly.
But it's so easy to read kind of a solution that works for someone else and thinking, well, that's a investment and I'm going to get big returns immediately.
Yeah.
Right? But that's not how investing works.
Not at
you
all.
put it somewhere and you keep putting it and you keep giving it attention. At some point it'll grow.
Right.
Maybe investing is not the right kind of analogy there.
No,
Maybe it's more like planting a tree.
Exactly.
But you get my point.
No, but the thing is, I mean, even the Spotify model, I mean, I don't know if you know, but even Spotify is saying, don't copy our model.
I haven't heard that yet.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're saying it's not, there's a reason why it's called the Spotify model.
Yeah.
There might be elements in there that could be understood. That's actually exactly what I'm saying. I'm not saying follow the Robby model. I'm saying kind of look at what I did, and possibly there might be some stuff there that you can copy.
Yeah.
But it's giving it your own twist. That's the key.
Yeah. I wonder, what would you advise someone who's going to go on that journey then, that they get that opportunity to go towards the soft side, start managing a bit more instead of being in the day-to-day down in the code? What would you advise kind of along that journey?
Yeah, good question. I think my biggest pitfall was if you're talking about stimulus response.
Yeah.
So something happens and I respond. I didn't take time to think about my response.
Okay.
Kind of never, and to try to understand the other person before being understood. I never took the time of doing that. So I missed out on a bunch of opportunities probably because of this.
Yeah.
And what I'm talking about is an animal only knows how to react to, I mean, you put a piece of cheese and this animal will walk towards that piece of cheese and eat it as long as there's cheese. And if there's no cheese, then.
Yeah.
I was doing most of that for my whole life. I wasn't using my human capabilities, endowments, if you may. We're blessed with creativity, with a conscience, with the ability to think about our response.
Yeah.
So somebody would tell me this code sucks. My own reaction would be, that's impossible.
Yeah.
That's idiot. And you always think things suck, so you suck. And I have all of these conversations in my head, and that would continue for days. I mean, in my head, 4 or 5 days later, I'm standing there yelling at this person. We're in a boxing match and doing all that.
Yeah.
This person most likely has completely forgotten
Moved on.
having ever said anything to me.
Exactly.
And possibly has used the communication style that to me came over as a different thing.
Yeah.
So that was my biggest pitfall. So when I learned to kind of take the stimulus and take the time to take the helicopter view and think of my response prior to responding.
Yeah.
That's really when the changes started to happen. Trying to think, does it fit me as a person, conscience, etc. What are my principles and values and norms, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's really important as a leader, because somebody's going to be angry at you at some point in time. If you're not able to do this, you're not going to be able to help this person, because this person is most likely, and it's almost never angry about what happened, and definitely to you.
Yeah.
So possibly something that happened prior in the day, the bucket was already full. This might have been the last drop. So the thing is, to be able to help this person, to facilitate this person, is very interesting not to respond to such it. And especially if you recognize it as kind of triggering you, pulling you towards this discussion you don't want to be in. Yeah. So that's why I say that's most likely the most important aspect of being a leader, and it has to do with emphatic listening. At least, I mean, listening, I would say listening with your heart. Yeah. Not with just your ears. That's the thing. And then when you think you want to respond, you ask again. You make sure you understand what it is this person is coming from.
Yeah.
And you think about, and so that to me, I guess, if I was to give one tip, that's something that helped me out a lot.
Yeah. Really the intent in communication.
Yeah.
Instead of just being reactive.
Listen with the intention to understand.
Mm.
And so to give you the time to think about your response.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I never used to do that. I always said, well, I respond instinctively. And I think more and more I'm getting a bit more in my head in thinking, where does that person come from?
Right.
And has something happened, or have I done something to give a wrong,
right,
set the wrong
tone, if you may,
the wrong tone,
or at least give the wrong impression and
the wrong expectation as well.
And again, that's why the communication styles are very interesting. If you're communicating from a red angle, if you may, using the disc colors, and to a green person, and you don't take into consideration this difference in communication style, I mean, you could be fully 100% agreeing with each other, and still fighting. Yeah,
because of the way you communicate,
right?
And that mismatch there,
right? Yeah, this understanding that some words don't come over well. Yeah, I mean, I'm from Curacao. We use a lot of words. Yeah. In the Netherlands, using a lot of words is annoying.
Is it?
Well,
it might.
I've been told. But I remember this because working on the island, I remember having somebody flown in from, I was working at Ernst & Young at the time, and somebody flew in from the Netherlands and came to do a presentation. He was done in 40 minutes. Yeah. We remember thinking, dude,
that's a quickie.
Across the island, and I mean, across the ocean in 40 minutes, I think at least 4 hours. Get to it. Yeah. But no, it's a different thing. You could kind of be bothered by something like that, or you can understand that this person is from a different culture or background, or maybe I'm just a person of many words. I mean, it's not the reason to get to that, to understand that. Yeah. Also enables you to be able to tell me that in a way that I'm going to try to adapt my talking. I mean, yeah. Let's put two scenarios. I mean, if you were to tell me, man, you use a lot of words and you keep babbling, keep it short. Yeah. The chance that I'm going to consider your request and honor it, well, that's not going to be very high. Exactly. Whereas I could say, I noticed that you're using a lot of words. Is there any particular reason that it's something I should take into consideration? That already opens up. I mean, in both ways, you're saying the same thing. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm talking about. It's all in the communication, and as a leader, or having been told as an engineer of being a difficult person, which for plenty of times in my career, man, you're just always looking for that edge, always looking for that, I'm giving you 3 sums that are correct. You always seem to find that one piece that wasn't correct and tell me that. You could be annoyed by that, and you could think of me as an engineer as an annoying guy, or you could try to understand me as a person, and it doesn't mean you will get to understand me at the end of the day, but at least trying already opens up a lot of possibilities. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. And also taking the engineership into the boards, into the management teams is also very important, because that's when I noticed that some misconception already start. Yeah. Oh, that guy, no, I tell you, you shouldn't talk to him. He's very difficult. I'm saying, do you know him? Have you talked to him? Yeah, I mean, why is that? Is there a reason why you think this? And often it's not even, and it's from hearsay. Okay. Yeah, I heard this, therefore I think it is. Well, somebody said that, so it's possibly the truth, or at least I'm not even taking the time to invest into this relationship. So so that's also a very important part of being a leader. Is communication to me is key. Understanding. Making sure that you listen. Yeah, that circles back to one of the things you mentioned earlier, in that it can be taught, right? You can teach yourself, or teach someone else to be good at that, right? Because communication, you can get really good at by communicating a lot, right? Or listening a lot, and trying to figure things out by either reading studies. Yeah, for sure. But it is teachable. Yeah, for sure. Emphatic listening is actually a course, a book. Yeah, I forgot the name of the author, but he breaks it down into 4 components. He says, first, make sure you understand, you get the observation. Yeah. Then you look at the emotions that come with this observation, leading to a a request of your own.
Yeah.
To formalize that which you would want to say. So basically, if you're, if I'm talking to you and you somehow you ended up annoying me, I could say, I'm noticing that you're using a lot of words. That annoys me.
Yeah.
Because I don't have much time. So would you please kind of summarize it for me?
Yeah.
As opposed to, man. babble.
Exactly. Yeah. One
So-
shuts the door and one opens the option. Yeah.
So, and is this teachable? Sure. I mean, there are courses on this, and I don't think everybody will be able to. No, that's the thing. It's not, people can't. Most people don't want to for some reason.
Yeah.
Feel kind of, it's taken away from time that's more important. I need to write code because that's important. And the thing is, and again, it's Stephen Covey who said that. And I'm a big fan of the 7 Habits of Effective People. And he's talking about sharpening the saw. And he mentioned a nice example of this. He says, a guy was sawing.
Yeah.
Big tree, and somebody walked by and says, "Man, you're really working out here. Your saw needs sharpening." I don't have time to sharpen my saw. I need to get this tree down.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's also very, I think, I read a lot, as you can hear. But I think that's very important. I used to read a lot of technical books, and that was good for a period of time.
Yeah,
and very interesting. And I still try to read them from time to time.
Yeah,
but I'm very fascinated by management theory and what it can mean for me.
Yeah.
And again, I always read them from the perspective of, as an engineer, I would like to understand this, so that I can use it to my benefit. And for me, that's to help people that I guide.
Yeah,
who didn't take time to read the book, but at least give them something that, how it touched me and how it worked with me. And maybe they don't need to read the book.
Yeah.
Maybe that's enough for them to do something. So that's also a part of leadership, what I find very important. It's sharpening my saw.
Exactly. It's your craft at the end of the day, right?
Right.
And you can hone it and you can use it to multiply others or to enable others.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love hearing that.
But I must say, the price I had to pay was to leave development.
Yeah. And it's a choice, right? You can either go deep,
right,
or you can go high over and multiply.
That I believe truly, because doing a bit of both really doesn't help anybody.
Yeah.
I'd much rather, I do have a lead architect now, very brilliant technical guy, who leaves all the people management to me. Yeah. And that works very well.
Yeah.
I mean, we have common ground. I look at him and I enjoy, I still enjoy going to our meetings. I mean, we have chapter meetings where I kind of give a platform to the chapter to present something. I love being at those meetings and learning about options that Angular gives us and some other things. I mean, I remember last meeting people talking about circle dependencies in Angular, which to me was new. And so that's awesome. But that's recognizing that I'm not able to do that or dig into that, but that's fine because I trust this person I trust them to do their job.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's, I guess, also, if you're talking about key leadership aspects that you can also learn, you don't earn trust, you grant trust.
Exactly.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Trust by default.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe they screw up. But I can tell you one thing. Nobody had to put blame on me when I was an engineer.
Yeah.
I knew my code messed up. I knew I messed up the build. I knew I messed up whatever it is I was doing. And I was hard on myself. I mean, I didn't need anybody else to give me more blame than I was already blaming myself. Yeah. All I needed was somebody to give me the room to pick up the pieces and the trust to that the next time I'm going to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Exactly. You need to make sure that the people that fall down don't stay down. Yeah. But they get back up and they can get going again. Right. Yeah. And to me, that's so important to let the people know I have a background in technology. I've left it behind just to enable them, to invalidate them, to say, you know what, this leaves the room for you. Yeah. And I trust everybody Maybe that's the stupidest thing to do, but I trust people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And the day I stop trusting people, I think that's for me, that will be a very dark place to be.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it's what binds us, right, within a team or within an organization.
Yeah,
and that makes it so we can trust each other to do the right thing.
Yeah,
and to move towards that same goal.
And people are going to attack you. I mean, I remember taking on a leadership position where somebody really went at it. I mean, just was blunt. And the thing is, again, knowing that it's not related to me as a person, but I'm into this position where other people have given other kind of direction to this position, and this person, having experienced it, doesn't look at me as Robby, looks at me as the chapter lead or whatever position I'm having.
Yeah.
That's exactly the point where I'm talking about being able to not respond to that stimulus.
Yeah.
And somebody's really calling you all kinds of names. It's knowing, all right, I know where he's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
He possibly hasn't had a leader who's listened to him, or he's very frustrated. I mean, something happened.
Yeah.
I couldn't have been me because, well, I knew.
Yeah.
Now, this is all, sounds to me like very logical and easy to do, but it's very tempting for us to jump into that.
Yeah.
Respond right away and this person, you're done.
Yeah.
I mean, you dare talk to me like this, you're out of here. I can't say that. It's maybe out of that bad day.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I believe all of us are very social, normal human beings, and we put on these masks. Am I going to work on that mask of yours, or I'm going to say, okay, I'm recognizing a pattern of you putting on a mask every time you see me.
Yeah.
How can I get you to not do that?
Exactly. And just look at me face to face.
And that's just trust as far as I'm concerned to start with.
Yeah.
And maybe this person is not able to put off that mask, and we can agree. Again, that's that win-win, no deal situation. At the end of the day, we can say, well, okay, this is not going to work between you and me.
Yeah.
What are the other alternatives?
Exactly. What are the options?
I mean, could you possibly in some other department of the company, or maybe I could look into my network and help you out, some other company you're interested in going to. So
yeah,
that's my way of going about it.
Yeah, I love that always reaching that win-win.
Yeah, people think that's soft, but I tell you, you're going to have some very confronting conversations with some people to try to get to what's really bugging them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I call them, I mean, I think it was a liberating structure called the 9 Whys, something like that, which kind of asks you to, kind of teaches you to ask 9 times why. I kind of translated that or changed that into asking 9 times, is this the real problem?
Okay. Yeah.
And that's really cool. I would challenge you to do that. Anything that happens in a day, try to ask yourself 9 times, is this the real problem?
Yeah.
And you're going to notice that somewhere around the 6th time, 7th time, you're finally going to get to something that stays consistently.
Yeah.
And maybe it's predictable, but
it's hard.
Well, this is what you're going to end up with is most likely some leadership aspect that you lack or your current leader lacks. And that's very normal and nothing to be ashamed about. I'm not saying this guy is worthless, but it's a good conversation topic. And this is what I tell the guys all the time. I'm not perfect either.
Exactly.
I also want to learn. So if you were to give me feedback, in a way that I could, if you give me feedback on the first time you asked, is this the real problem? That's good. We can unpack it.
Yeah.
But if you get into that habit of unpacking it yourself, that saves us a lot of time.
Exactly.
So that's the thing. And often we react to that first impression.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a problem.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy's talking about Agile Scrum. This is stupid. We shouldn't even be talking Agile Scrum. What a waste of time. And then, of course, if we were to unpack this, is that the real problem? No. It's not such Scrum as such, but I just don't have time.
Exactly.
Is that your real problem? Well, it's not as much that I don't have the time. I kind of have difficulties focusing on what I need to get done. So, okay, is that the real problem? Well, it's not as such the focus as far as I really have no clue what I'm really doing here.
Yeah.
You're a programmer. Is that the real problem? No, it's not the development.
Yeah.
This is leadership. This is really facilitating, coaching, mentoring, talking to somebody.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter how old this person is or young, what cultural background or what it is they're doing.
Yeah.
And this I enjoy the most of my position as a leader, having these conversations.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's really fulfilling to peel those layers and get to the core, and actually being able to help them fix that, because then all the outside layers are also kind of cascaded and fixed.
And the thing is, it's really peeling an onion.
Yeah.
As much as you're getting to the core of the business, people cry.
Yeah.
well, literally, people cry. But that's good. That emotion is also there. And I've seen people, grown men cry, grown women cry. And that's, you might say, in the IT world, people tend to think that that is a sign of weakness.
Mm.
Man, I tell you one thing. Somebody blesses you with the gift of their tears.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing, man. That's when you're really done your job well as a leader.
Yeah. It's that validation to an emotional level.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. That's having created this safety, this feeling of safety that somebody has kind of is able to express themselves to you. And that's a hard, that's not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. Man, I love hearing that. And I think we'll leave it off at that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Robby. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Oh man, thanks very much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Let's do this again sometime.
For sure.
Cool, man.
Beyond Coding. From your sponsors, Zebia, creating digital leaders.